What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I don't even know what day it is. What day is it? Is it Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday. Wednesday the what? Wednesday the 23rd. Wow. Can't believe this year is almost over. It's flying by. And coming up to some pretty awesome events here coming up this weekend. Friday night is the annual Karen Reed Halloween party. This is the second year that it's happening. Hopefully you got your tickets. I will be there in attendance. So it'd be nice to see all of you and be cool to hang out with everybody. Lauren from DC is coming up to hang out, so she'll be at the party. Maz is going to be there. I'm sure some of the other local creators will be there as well. It's going to be a good time. I didn't go to the one last year, but I'm going to hit this one this year. And then Saturday down at Legacy Place in Dedham, Massachusetts, if you're going to be there, if you live in the local area, if you live in Massachusetts, I will be standing out from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. for a Trooper Enrique Delgado Garcia standout. And we're going to mix in some Karen Reed supporters, Sandra Birchmore, Justin Root, whatever it may be. Come down and hang out with us from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Lauren from DC and I will be out there supporting Trooper Garcia and standing out for justice. So it should be a good time, and it'd be nice to see some people out there. And then Sunday, I'll return most likely on Sunday morning for the free Karen Reed standout at Dedham in Legacy Place from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. I might leave that a little bit early, maybe do an hour there, and then I think I'm going to head down to Plymouth and finish my day there and try to hit two standouts. So it's going to be a good time. Nice to see everybody here. Start filling in the chat a little bit. What the Fox is here. I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Katie, Go Squad members here. Sophie, nice to see you as well. We got Just a Girl Living in Maine. Hello, how are you? Today is Wednesday, isn't it? Rachel, thank you for letting me know it's Wednesday. Virginia's here. Lauren's in the chat. Lauren from DC. Dennis in the chat. Nice to see you. Jacqueline in the chat. Sandra's here. A lot of Go Squad members popping in. Listen, I want to make sure that I thank all of the paying members of this channel, memberships. That's very, very important as far as keeping the income stream here going. It is a business. We're on YouTube. I'm making money, but that's going to allow me to keep the studio running. So your memberships mean a lot, and I really appreciate all of you for helping me out here. It does make a huge difference on a month-to-month basis, and it allows me to upgrade now and move into the other studio here pretty soon. I should have hopefully my lease by next week. And I have a lot of moving to do, a lot of trips to IKEA, and a lot of planning to do. So, like I said, I may for a little while be back at the house for a little bit, doing lives from there for a couple weeks until we get the new studio built out. Well, until I get the new studio built out. And I'm really looking forward to that, because it's going to be a lot of arranging and figure out what I want to do in there, what kind of furniture I want to bring in, because it is a larger space, how I want to set it up. So, it's going to be a little bit of trial and error, but I truly believe it's going to be such a better creative space in there. It's not going to be as cramped as the room that I'm in. And I think that, we're going to have a lot of fun in there. I have a lot of things planned and things that we can do in there. And I really, I think it's going to be fun. And then maybe I was thinking, once it's all built, I do a little bit of an open house and maybe have, 20 or so people come through and hang out in the studio for the day, or not for the day, for a couple hours, and get to talk a little bit and meet with me. I think that would be a lot of fun too. So a lot of things that I'm looking forward to doing. I can't wait to get that kicked off and going. So again, I appreciate all the paid members. It really does make a huge difference. And I actually have video of the new studio up. If you haven't checked it out, you can check it on my video section. And it's a little bit of a walkthrough video. So let's get into the heart of the show today. Before I kick this off, I'm going to rant a little bit. Permission to rant, hopefully. I work a full-time job. I have to work a full-time job. and my boss sucks, completely sucks. It's a person that I have worked for this past year, and he makes work difficult every single day. He's the attitude that, things are never good enough. There's always something that he has to critique or say. He says that he's not a micromanager, but he is a micromanager, and it's very tough to work for people like that because I'm a leader. I'm a leader, and it was like I was hired to be an assistant to him, so I'm an assistant that doesn't assist. He doesn't let me do anything. He has to have ultimate fucking control of everything. He's a fucking sociopath. I mean, that's what it is. Bottom line, it comes down to he's just a sociopath. It's one of the worst human being people that I've ever worked through with for trying to come to any type of level of compromise, trying to come to any level of opinion. It does not happen with this guy. And the funny thing is I've actually complained to corporate, our HR department, for the last 8 months about this guy. And I've sent multiple complaints with tons of evidence to literally back up my claims and anything. And the beautiful thing about it is I have it in writing. Everything is in writing. So if anything ever happens, it's always in writing. The HR department is aware of what's going on. This guy always gets a pass. The last thing he did, he took off a couple of weeks ago for 2 fucking weeks. 2 weeks this guy took off. Okay. No one knew where he was. And here he is on his little TikTok account posting, oh, he's down in fucking Miami eating French toast. Oh, bon appetit. Best French toast ever. Bon appetit. His boss could not get a hold of him. I finally ended up having to talk to his boss and said, we don't fucking know where he is. Oh, well, I've been trying to get in touch with him for 2 weeks. They have a conversation. The guy gets a pass. So that's how it is. The worst human being. But I'm going to tell you right now, people like this, working for people like this and being around people like this makes me work harder on this channel every single day to improve my channel, my presentation, my content for all of you. So I can do this someday and be my own boss. It literally drives me every single day. I go to that job and I have to stand there and I have to do the things that I'm doing there. And I'm like, you know what? This is only temporary. It's only temporary. You're going to be able to do what you want soon for the rest of your life. And it makes me work harder every single day to get to that goal, because I don't want to work for anybody anymore. I want to be my own boss. But anyway, I wanted to rant a little bit, get that frustration out. And, it feels good that I have a spot and a place to go to after work and hang out with all of you and be here with all of you and to really, truly enjoy what I do. And that's this. I truly enjoy doing this. And I love it. And it's something that I want to keep improving and getting better at and making my content better for all of you. So that is my intro for today. We're going to get into my show. And I just want to recognize this really quick. I saw Jen became a new member. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. And Sophie says, love joining the shows. Thank you, Sophie. You're a channel moderator. You've been a member for a month, and I appreciate that. I'm going to probably put this out there just to let everybody know. Come January 1st, I'm going to probably get rid of the $1.99 level, and it's going to just start at a $4.99 level. I know I don't want to shock anybody, and I don't want to make anybody angry, but I need to level up here a little bit. I have a little bit more overhead here on the channel, and moving into the larger space, all my expenses are going to double. So I have to kind of do that. And I thought it would give people time to think about that. So you have about another 2 months if you'd like to upgrade into the next tier at the $4.99, because I think the $1.99 is going to eventually go away. And just logistically, I have to do that because my expenses, my overhead is getting higher here. Taking on this new studio, to be honest, a little bit nervous, a little nervous wracking, but I know that I am someone that can make it work, and I will make it work. And I don't plan on going anywhere because we're going to have a lot of fun down there. Anyway, all right, let's get into my presentation today. I want to go back and talk a little bit about the recent Dateline episode that we had, and it's cool because I actually hosted a watch party with Mazza Media and Lauren from DC, and it actually worked out really great. It wasn't something that we could broadcast on the channel because it would have been interrupted or taken down because of copyright issues, because that's just what the AI does and picks up. But I was able to post a clip from that live that we did, and we had about 170 people in there. It was really fun. We had a great time. Maz was here live in the studio. Lauren was in DC. We took her in via the link, and she hung out on the panel with us. We had a lot of fun doing that. We broke down and we got to talk during the commercials, and it worked out really well. And it was just a great time. But I was able to post a clip from that, and it was when Karen talked about the night that she went and dropped John off. And I'd love for you all to go over and check out that video after. I would play it, but I already know that if I play it again, they're going to nail me for copyright. But the cool thing about it is I actually disputed the copyright, and NBC actually released it to me today, which was awesome because, we're using it in fair use. We were doing commentary over it. We had an audience, and we were describing what was going on, and they actually released that to me today. So that was actually kind of cool. And I may cut down some more clips of that and upload it up. If not, I might just upload the whole video, edit out some of the beginnings. We had about a 10-minute intro before the show actually started. We didn't really do much. We're just making sure things audio and visually worked. So I might cut that down, upload it, and do it for probably members only. So if you're a member and you want to watch that, you'll have access to that. But if you're not a member and you want to become a member, please do. And that gives you access to all the members only content. But anyway, nice to see everybody coming in. Welcome in. I see a lot of Ghost Squad members here. I think Mazza was here in the chat a little earlier, so it's nice to see Mazza as well. But let's get into the Dateline. I want to talk a little bit about this because, oh my gosh, the O'Keefe family has just been, they've been through hell. I mean, let's face it, they're just going through hell. And they're just saying, Karen Read has put them through just absolute hell, absolute hell. So let's read this from NBC News. Family of Karen Read's boyfriend says she put them through hell. Well, how about all the hell that Karen has had to go through? She did not kill John O'Keefe. That has been proven by multiple pieces of evidence, the botched investigation, the witnesses that have lied. Their story changes every single time they get up on that witness stand. And we are heading into January now for a second sham trial. And as we know, two of the charges that are on Karen Read, 12 jurors decided that she was not guilty on that. She was not guilty on those charges. And I just look at the charge that they're hung on is this driving while intoxicated manslaughter. They've never proved that Karen Read was drunk. So I don't see that. And they've never proved an accident. Hello, ARCA. So those are always my argument points. When everybody says, oh, Karen, I do this at Jennifer Coffin or every fucking morning. I don't know why I do this, but she has a lust, an obsession over Karen Read. She has to constantly tweet about her. And she's going in this morning about her Karen Read this, and she hit John O'Keefe, and she clipped him. Now she said she clipped him. Then she said she hit him. And I just put one simple reply. ARCA. That's it. ARCA. Pretty simple reply. But let's get into this article here. The relative of a Boston police officer whose death Read has been charged said that the family is prepared for a retrial. Quote, no matter what we have to deal with, justice for Johnny, she said. Justice for Johnny. And this is another thing, too, that always gets kind of thrown out there in all of this, is that everybody says that John O'Keefe gets lost and all of that. That is farther from the truth. Why do you think, you see signs, justice for John, everywhere. Anytime one of these Karen Read standouts happen, or we're out at the courthouse supporting Karen, or we're having an event, or whatever it may be, John's name is always there. Why do you think that we're out there standing for this? Because we want truth. We want truth to come out of what happened to John inside 34 Fairview that night. And because you're using Karen Reed as the patsy, now we have to get out and stand for Karen as well because she shouldn't be going through this. The people inside 34 Fairview that night should be going through this. So a relative of a Boston police officer who died after Karen Reed allegedly ran him down in her SUV said her family fully supports retrying Reed after a widely publicized murder trial ended with a hung jury earlier this year. Beth, who's in John O'Keefe's extended family, and asked to be identified only by her first name because she fears harassment, told Dateline. She fears harassment. That's further from the truth. That's another rumor that's always been thrown out there. You know, that the rumor, remember when the trial was going on? Oh, Free Karen Reed supporters are out harassing the jury and they're following them home. Where's the evidence of that? That never happened. I know Jennifer Coffindaffer was fucking tweeting about that during the trial. Oh, they're out there harassing them. They're out there following them home. You know for certain if that happened, that would have been all over local news, up, down, left, right, back and forth. You know that. That did not happen. That never happened. So why continue to put these lies out there? So we go on. Not even though that the Reed family, they put them through hell. They were prepared for a second trial, and those proceedings are scheduled to begin early next year. Quote, no matter what we have to deal with, justice for Johnny, Beth said. The twisty legal saga surrounding the case, which involves allegations of a far-fetched law enforcement company. Yeah, that's crazy to think that that could even happen, given all of the evidence, the botched investigation, everything that we saw. And again, I'm going back to what I talked about before. The witnesses that constantly change their testimony. Yeah, it's very far-fetched to think of, oh, yeah, there's a law enforcement cover-up going on. None of these people are all in on it. No, it's just coincidence that all this stuff is kind of happening. An inverted video inside a police sally port. Yeah, I mean, missing ring cam footage on the night. No one's camera worked in that neighborhood that night. I mean, I've always said this all along. If Karen Reed did this, then where's the video? Where's the video? Oh, there's no video because you know why? Because the video would capture them carrying John's body out on the lawn of 34 Fairview that night. That's why the video disappeared. Oh, but wait a minute. Oh no, it was Karen. That's right. Karen had gone into the room and erased the videos all of everything that night, right? That's what it was. She's the eraser. All right, the medical examiner attributed O'Keefe's cause of death to blunt force trauma to the head and hypothermia. Well, yeah, because he got the shit kicked out of him inside 34 Fairview, and then they dragged him outside to die in the cold, confirmed by one Jennifer McCabe at 227, Hoslong to die in cold. Reed, an equity analyst who's been dating O'Keefe for at least 2 years in time of death, was charged with second-degree murder, motor vehicle and manslaughter while driving under the influence and leaving the scene of a collision causing the death. She has maintained her innocence, well, because she is innocent. The case will appear. This case will appear before the Massachusetts Supreme Court next month, when Reed's defense team will argue that some of the charges against her, including murder, should be thrown out. Well, they should. They should. I mean, they never proved that, and Karen didn't do it. Prosecutors said that there's no bias for the claim. What prosecutors say happened. Prosecutors said that the couple's troubled relationship ended in an intoxicated Reed backing into O'Keefe with her Lexus and leaving him for dead outside of the home of the former Sergeant Brian Albert's house. Yeah, there's no there were known witnesses to O'Keefe's death, but Norfolk County Assistant District Attorney Adam Lally said the vehicle data from the Lexus showed Reed reversing at 24 miles per hour at 60 feet near Albert's home, where Reed said she was dropping O'Keefe off for an after party. O'Keefe never made it inside. Lally said that there was no one who in the event recalled seeing him there. The rear taillight of Reed's Lexus was broken, and O'Keefe's hair and DNA were found on the vehicle, bumper, taillight, and the prosecutor said, well, yeah, it's because they planned all that in the Sally Port, and we saw that in the video, the inverted video. Lally also cites Reed's own alleged words in the immediate aftermath of O'Keefe's death. A friend who was with Reed when O'Keefe's body was discovered, recalling saying, I hit him. I hit him. I hit him 3 times. How about I hit him? You're saying I hit him? I hit him? Again, going back to my Cousin Vinny reference, I know we've talked about that a lot. I shot the clerk. I shot the clerk. That reference. Casting the blame on other officers. Reed has repeatedly said that she is innocent of O'Keefe's death, and her lawyers have alleged law enforcement officers sought to frame her in the killing. According to defense, Reed dropped off O'Keefe, saw him enter the Alberts home, where the agent with an Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, who she recently was flirting with, then ghosted, was also at the after party. Well, all more. Why not? I've always said this all along. Was always suspicious of Brian Higgins. That whole nature of a guy. If I can't have her, no one can. I've always thought that. My theory hasn't changed. I know some of you may disagree of what happened, but I always thought that, yeah, he was always my top person. He was always my top guy in this who started the fight that night. That tension likely prompted from a fight caused by O'Keefe's injuries. Reed's lawyer said at trial afterward, the defense said O'Keefe was left for dead outside. Through her attorneys, Albert and the agent, Brian Higgins, denied involvement in O'Keefe's death, and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office also released a statement saying that they had nothing to do with his death. The defense has also accused Massachusetts State Trooper Michael Proctor of leading a biased and improper investigation into O'Keefe's death. I mean, I don't think we have to explain that. That did happen. During the trial, Proctor admitted using derogatory language about Reed in text to his friends, relatives, and supervisors, testified that all of his language was unprofessional and it did not affect any integrity of his it didn't affect anything. And I told this before, that if this guy is doing this specifically in this case and got caught, he was doing it in other cases as well too. The language, falsifying evidence. I mean, this is not just one-off thing. This is a track record. People just don't do this overnight. People don't just go, you know what, today I'm probably going to say a bunch of shit about this girl to my friends and my supervisors. Oh, and while I'm in her phone, why don't I start looking around for nudes? Maybe we can get some of those and pass them around. Right? Right. Proctor was suspended without pay the day after mistrial was declared on January 1st. And in his conduct and his subject were ongoing a police investigation. He has not responded to multiple requests for comment from NBC News. Not buying the cover-up claims. To Beth, Proctor's texts, which included him saying he hopes Reed would take her own life and describing with her own offensive turn for developmentally disabled people, were completely inappropriate. But that didn't mean Reed was framed, Beth said. Quote, I never believed that there was a massive cover-up that goes up to the state police. Are you fucking kidding me? Have you not seen what has gone on in Massachusetts? Let's just say with the Massachusetts State Police, at least in the last 5 years. I mean, a simple Google search will give you that fucking information. And look at the most recent one. Trooper Enrique Delgado Garcia. It's been well past 30 days. And no results in the investigation, no answers to anything. Oh, but today, this is what we get. This is what we get, people. This is what we get. Oh, if you want to sign up, to be a Massachusetts State Police officer, they would love for you to have take part of their open enrollment. Take part of their open enrollment today. There's the link, people. If you want to click on it, sign up. Does that give you any confidence as to what happened to Trooper Garcia that you would want to sign up and be part of the Massachusetts State Police right now? You got to be out of your fucking mind. Yeah, they're looking for we're looking for cadets between 19 and 25 years old to start your journey Journey where? To the grave? So, of course, I get in there today, 4 hours ago after this gets posted, said, what happened to Trooper Garcia? That's what they want. They want people to sign up for their organization right now and be part of their force. I mean, come on. Let's get some answers first. Let's shut that program down. Let's get some answers first. All right, let's go back to this article. Quote, we shouldn't have to justify. I'm just gonna make my screens okay here. Okay, here we go. Quote, we shouldn't have to justify why we don't believe this crazy story, she said. I think others should be justified as to what they believe. The defense's theory is that it was amplified by a local blogger, Aiden Turtle Boy Carney, who described Reed as a victim and derated O'Keefe's family for believing in her guilt. His outspokenness on the matter attracted large crowds at a Norfolk County courthouse during the trial. Well, yeah, of course it did, because he came out and reported the truth. He gave us the truth. And everything that he said in his articles happened during the trial. Excuse me. Outside the court, Kermis showed crowds booing the family as they walked inside. Ooh. In a separate clip, Carney was seen calling O'Keefe's brother a disgrace. It was funny. This happened today. I thought this was pretty funny too. Let me bring this up. Speaking of John's brother, I got this. So I posted up earlier today. I was out with a group of fine people the other night having some dive bar pizza. And this is one of the comments that were left under there today. And I thought this was kind of funny. I'll show you here in a second. So we had so Gina said, well, you should be raising money for the O'Keefe grandchildren, not the drunken killer Karen Reed. So I responded back and I said, ask Paul where all the GoFundMe money went. Where'd all the GoFundMe money went? Where'd it go? Oh, wait. That was during the interview after the trial. We saw that new addition, 2 floors, nice patio out back. Wonder where that money went. I don't know. So I thought that was a good response. So Gina, if you're watching the show, thanks for the comedy. That was pretty funny. All right, let's go back to this article. So quote, this was a murder trial and it lost almost, and that was lost almost every single day. Oh, wait, I missed this. For the things that he said and continue to say and got his mob. Oh, we're just the mob. We're the mob, people. Keep that in mind. We are the mob. To say that this mob's mentality is vile, Beth said. She continued, quote, Johnny is where the focus should be and not on the blogger and not about the defendant. It should be about the fact that Johnny died. Johnny died because of someone else, and these 2 people have made it all about them. Well, we certainly did die because of somebody else, somebody inside 34 Fairview that night, and it definitely wasn't because of Aiden or Karen. This was a murder trial, and that was lost almost every single day. Last year, Carney was charged with intimidation, conspiracy in connection with his online media coverage of the case. He pled not guilty, and his case is ongoing. After his arraignment, Carney said that he would not be intimidated or silenced, nor should he be. More than 60 people who supported O'Keefe's family or witnesses attended throughout the trial, Beth said, but the family maintained a public silence because they felt the courtroom was the most appropriate venue for the case to play out. She said she felt deflated when after the 9-week trial and 5 days of deliberations, the jurors remained deadlocked and the jury declared a mistrial. The family has been hoping on moving on, Beth said, but instead she faced another thought. Oh God, we have to do this again. Reed's trial is scheduled to begin on January 27th. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. What do y'all think? Beth, the rally. Beth's the rally. You know, I just want to make sure that Beth understands this. John's name has never gotten lost in any of this. This is why we're doing this. Because you have a group of people that covered up a murder at 34 Fairview that night. They're all in on it. I mean, just go back and watch the testimonies. I have people that come to me now that haven't even really heard about this, and I just say, go watch the witnesses. Go watch the witness. I had someone the other day that said, oh, what have you been doing? I haven't talked to you in a while. Well, I have a YouTube channel going. I'm talking about the Karen Reed case. Oh, Karen Reed case. What's that? I think I heard something about it. Well, yeah, and I try to explain it a little bit in a short form because it's a very lengthy, complicated trial. And it's just go watch some of it and let me know what you think. And they always come back and they go, holy shit. Are all those people that are on the stand, are they on trial? It seems like they're lying about everything. That's the response that I get all the time. That is the response I get all the time. Cynthia, thank you so much. New member. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's get on to the next segment here in my headlines segment. Let's see. Sarah Boone in court today. I think it's winding down. She took the stand from the New York Post. And we'll play some videos of her actually on the stand today. Accused killer Sarah Boone says it was funny when she zipped boyfriend in suitcase, but claims she only left him in it as she feared his abuse. We'll play this.
Stupid. For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
You.
Sarah.
You.
Sarah.
Thank you, Kiki.
Stupid.
You rock for being here. Appreciate you.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Sarah. I can't breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah.
Real or ransom. I want to get video for it extra.
All right, so it says the Florida woman accused of suffocating her boyfriend in a locked suitcase testified that they all found it that they found it funny he could fit inside. But she felt too scared to let him out when she turned angry during his final moments. Sarah Boone, 47, took the stand in her murder trial Tuesday to portray the gruesome 2020 death of Jorge Torres as a unexpected tragedy from an incident drunken game of hide and seek. He was 5 feet tall, 3 inches, roughly weighed about 100 pounds. Excuse me. This kind of zipped him up. We thought it was funny, he told the court. We were joking that he was so small enough to fit inside the suitcase. Excuse me. All my yelling and screaming. Boone, who is currently on trial for second-degree murder, alleged that she had even rolled Torres around in the suitcase, and he thought it was funny. We were joking and laughing about it, she told the court, admitting that she was intoxicated at the time. However, Boone claimed that she got terrified when she still trapped Torres, whom now accuses her of previous domestic violence, starting threatening her to release him. If he had gotten out of the suitcase, what would have happened? Boone asked, saying that she was always in fear around Torres. He used to tell me that he would have left me unrecognizable and I would have lost my life, she alleged, with her defense now largely resting on her claims of suffering a battered spouse syndrome. All right, let's watch a little bit of video here today. We're going to watch Sarah Boone from Law and Crime Network. She picks up the deadly suitcase to show how her boyfriend got zipped inside. Here's a demonstration. What do y'all think? You think this is battered women syndrome, or is Sarah Boone a cold-hearted killer? If she's a cold-hearted killer, type a 1 in the chat. If you think this is spousal abuse, type a 2. Let's go. Tracy. Good to see you, Tracy. A lot of ones. A lot of ones. Cold-blooded killer. A lot of ones. So I said, if you think she's a cold-blooded killer, type a 1. If you think this is spousal abuse, type a 2. What would you say? Guilty or not
All right.
guilty?
Ms. Boone, can you demonstrate for the jury where Mr. Torres' head was and how his body was positioned in the suitcase, if you don't mind?
Oh,
His back was
1.5.
this way and his head was here.
All right, and then is it fair to say his feet are kind of...
And keep in mind, she went through 9 lawyers. 9 lawyers before she got to trial. That was wild watching all that, all the prelim high. Oh, yeah, and then last week she was asking, she wanted snacks in court, and the judge was like, no. No.
down here, which would be the front left corner from their perspective in the jury box.
Yes.
And then his knees are kind of tucked up towards his face.
If I remember correctly, yes, that's the position.
Okay. All right. Can you help me understand how it was that you zipped it shut? Can you show us where you say you left an opening that his hand got out of?
Would it be easier to put it down here?
I didn't want to make you go down there. If you're happy doing that, I'll let you.
Hold on. Does she need to be wearing gloves?
Yes.
Agreed. If she's going to be manipulating it.
It's going to be crazy.
What do you want her to do?
Just demonstrate how she zipped it shut.
Okay, well, where's the paperclip? And do you remember what? Which one it was in?
He was 5'2" and 100 pounds. He was a tiny guy.
This side.
Look how big those gloves are. They're huge. They're like hospital gloves. Like,
Judge, the paperclip was on when this event occurred. When we pulled the suitcase out earlier, the paperclip was not attached. So now the prosecutor
Right, Sophie?
attached the paperclip. We don't know if that's the way it was attached.
It's not even a paperclip.
We
Okay.
don't know if that's the proper way that it was attached. But he's asking her now to pull.
Is there an objection?
Yes?
Approach.
all right, we're going to get side by. Let's wait.
Objections overruled.
Nope.
All right.
You feel most comfortable.
Right?
Now,
DJ?
before you ready? Can we see how it was that the 2 zipper parts were positioned when you say that Mr. Torres was able to get his hand out? If you want me to do it, I'm fine to take your direction.
From what I remember, this is how the suitcase. This is how the suitcase.
Glitter says, I do not believe her at all. She's changed her story so many times. If she was abused, why not just say that from the get-go? Exactly. And we know a lot of people that changed their story multiple times on the stand during the Karen Reed trial, right? We know who those people are. His story's changed a bunch.
This was up here.
Crazy to think that suitcase Jeez, man. That poor guy died in that suitcase.
This was-
So crazy.
Like here.
Okay.
Right here.
Yep, but I'm just gonna put this out there. And I get it, Melissa. You said she was abused. If you watch the trial, you would see that. And I wish I did have the opportunity to watch the trial. But here's the thing. If you're abused in any way, if you're abused and there is a pattern of abuse, okay, you have the opportunity to report that. That doesn't necessarily mean you kill the person. You know, there was no life-threatening event. She wasn't being threatened. She wasn't being physically threatened where she had to defend herself to kill this person. She literally put him inside a suitcase, zipped it up in a drunken stupor, and laughed at him as he said on film, "I cannot breathe." Okay? Now, the guy's a piece of shit. If he's beating her up, the guy's a piece of shit. 100%. 100%. I don't stand behind that at all. But that doesn't give you the right to put someone inside and laugh. You know, you're not defending yourself at that time. You're not being physically battered at that time. It's just my thought. You may disagree with me. You may disagree with me. But if he's not putting his hands on you, I think she killed him. I think it's murder.
Oh, right there, ma'am?
Sure.
I assume this one was much closer? It's not over there? Where do you
You asked me where I zipped it.
when you say that was zipped shut,
You can't
Show
take
us.
it in your own hands, you know?
Are you talking about how I zipped it or?
when you're done zipping it shut and he's inside of it, where are the zipper components?
Just tell me where it's at.
Yeah, it does
was
be there, right?
The corner. I mean, the corner was kind of open. I mean, it's not. Yes, this one was pretty much, yes,
I think she's going to at least get some time.
from what I can remember. That's how he was coming with his hand out. It was like this from the corner part.
Okay,
That is bizarre. That whole suitcase being there and
thank you.
demonstration, very bizarre. We're going to get to testimony here with Sarah Boone in the court. I'd love to go back and rewatch this once it all posts. We get the result. I wish I had the time to sit home and stream it, but I work.
Did you ever change the position of those zippers once you put it in that position?
I did not.
It is bizarre.
And so once he was zipped into there's some amount of time, but you don't remember specifically before you start taking the 2-minute video, correct?
Yes.
And then that's when you say what you say, and that's when he says what he says. We've all heard it, correct? And then between there and that second video of the 22 seconds length, it's at this point where he's beginning to get angry. And then that's when you take the baseball bat that's in evidence, and your testimony is start poking him with the end of it.
She poked
You
him.
said this was the second video?
Between the two videos, that's when you started hitting with the bat because he was getting angry and trying to escape, correct?
Right, I was not hitting him, yes.
Okay. Did you ever hit him with the bat while he was outside of the suitcase?
No.
So each time that he is hit with the bat, it's through this suitcase. And that's what leaves the marks on him because you didn't hit him with the bat outside of the suitcase, correct?
Yes, but may I demonstrate?
No, that's okay. The suitcase will speak for itself. And then you take the second
Yeah, I
video.
can't do
and
that.
You go upstairs
I-
and go to bed, correct?
I
don't
apparently
work
went
from
upstairs
home.
and I used the phone to make a phone call,
Okay.
and then I fell asleep.
All right. And at the point in time when you left and went upstairs, he was still inside the suitcase, correct?
Correct.
Was he still asking for you and calling your name?
Not that I can recall.
Did you say shh to him again?
I don't remember.
Did you tell him that this was his problem and it's on you again?
I don't remember.
Did you do anything to help him escape from the predicament that you zipped him up in?
No.
No other questions.
Any redirect examination?
Ms. Boone, he just asked you the question that you poked him and you didn't poke it. You poked, every time you poked him hard with the bat, he was inside the briefcase,
The suitcase, yes.
the suitcase. But you remember when he put his hand out,
doing
did you not
funky
hit him in the hand outside the suitcase?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the only time the bat touched Mr. Torres's body outside the suitcase.
Shay, $10 says, I've been following this Melanie Little Boone, had black eyes, stab wounds, but that does not warrant what she did that night. Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't take, listen, you know, the only way in my eyes that this would have been justifiable, which is like odd, you're putting someone inside a suitcase. The only way that it would be justifiable in my way is that if you're defending yourself from someone physically harming you, you don't just think in your mind, well, you know, I'm going to wait. I'm going to get him in that suitcase. And then for all the bad things that you did to me, that's planning. That's premeditated murder. I think she's on trial for second-degree murder. But to me, it's like premeditated murder. And maybe she didn't plan it out with a long plan. And that's probably why the second-degree murder charge. But she got him in there and she filmed it and laughed and literally said, this is for all the things that you did to me. And then went upstairs and went to bed. And left him in there. Didn't give a shit. There's no emotion. She's lacking empathy. Like, you can't just take that in your own hands and say, well, now that I have him in there, I'm going to let him die. I don't know. I don't see it. All right, let's finish this up and we'll get a little bit of more testimony from
Was when you hit him with a hand.
Boone.
But all the other injuries were with you poking him pretty hard. I mean, you bruised your hand, correct? Doing that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Ma'am, you can return to counsel's table.
Judge, can we approach you?
Just a moment. Let me get her situated at table, and then we can approach.
So here's the thing. I know a lot about this. In the sense of family life, know a lot about it. Not anything that I've been involved with, but things that I've seen. It still doesn't, to me, it doesn't justify. You're laughing. You're taking someone's life in your own hands and then you're killing them. If it's a situation, you have many options. You leave, tell a friend, tell a family member. I get it. You go to the police. You get yourself out of that situation and you don't stay there. You have the free roam to leave, go, be anywhere you want. And I know these are very sensitive subjects that people have multitude opinions about it, but this is just my opinion. You may not agree with me. I get it. I may lose some subscribers over this. It's fine. But to me, you know, I don't see it. You have to be in a situation where someone is like physically hurting you. You know, just throw some in a suitcase and say, yeah, well, for all the things you did to me. That doesn't make any sense. You're now taking their life into your hands. And you're being judge and jury. Auntie, $10 says, hi, Brian. While I don't disagree with that Sandra did, I know the fear deep in my core. Please, as you know, that not every victim reacts the same. I get that. I understand it. This is just my opinion. I know this was going to be an extremely sensitive subject to get into tonight. I don't want anybody to be a victim of domestic violence. I'm just seeing it from my version of it, my opinion. All right. Let's hear her on the stand. Sarah Boone, the chaotic moment that she found her boyfriend dead in the suitcase.
You had called your ex-husband?
Yes.
All right. After you called your ex-husband, what happened after that?
I ended up falling asleep.
Okay. Do you remember waking up the next morning?
Yes.
Did you sleep in?
Not intentionally.
Okay. But you didn't get up at 8 o'clock, did you?
No.
Did you wake up closer to noon?
I believe so, yes.
Did you check the time?
No.
Now, did you hear your phone ringing?
Yes, my phone was ringing.
And did you answer it right away?
No.
Do you know approximately how many times it rang before you answered it?
I believe the call was about 3 times.
Did you know who was calling?
I figured it was my ex-husband.
And why would he be calling?
To make sure that I was still on schedule to pick up our son.
At 3 that afternoon?
Correct.
And he goes to school there close by?
Yes.
All right. When you woke up, did you stay in bed for a while?
For a little while, yes.
All right, tell the jury what happened when you got up.
I knew it was my ex-husband calling repeatedly. I didn't answer right away because one of our problems is that he doesn't understand that I'm doing things around the apartment and looking for jobs and so on and so forth. So I inevitably just let it ring, and I laid in the bed, and I figured that George was downstairs either drinking or looking for jobs, or may have just left. And so eventually I decided to get out of the bed and start moving to go downstairs. I was motivated enough to go downstairs. And when I went downstairs, it was very quiet. So I had the understanding, I believed that he had left. And
Did you check to see if where would he be looking for a job at?
Usually on the couch, he would have my son's laptop, and he and I, which we would share.
Y'all only have the son's laptop?
Correct.
And the TV was not working at this time?
The TV was not there.
Okay. So you thought he would be in the living room on the laptop?
Yes.
He was not there?
No.
Where else did you look for him?
I looked on the back porch. I went through the front door to see if my car was there, thinking maybe he had taken my car. I checked the bathroom, and when I was checking the bathroom, I saw the suitcase, and I remembered about the night prior, and I unzipped the suitcase. And
Let me stop you there. You said you were in the bathroom when you saw the suitcase, or coming out of the bathroom?
No, where our bathroom is, I would have to go to the bathroom here. And then when I turned around, I noticed the suitcase, and I remembered.
How did you feel when you saw the suitcase?
I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that before.
Describe it to the jury.
I guess I was aghast, and
Yeah, the
I
last
just
place
can't
that he
describe the
was, right?
feeling.
Bless you.
Terror to
Bless you.
a certain
The
degree.
last place that she knew where. This is a good point. She checked everywhere but the suitcase, Courtney said. The last place that she knew where he was. That's the last place she knew where he was. That's a good point, Courtney. All right, let's hear from Sarah again.
Sorry, say that again now.
It was terror to a certain degree. I just can't describe it in words, the feeling of remembering. And then he was still in there.
So what did you do?
I immediately unzipped the suitcase and I was screaming, George, 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 and I was shaking him. And I pulled him out and I stretched him out flat. And then I began instantly trying to do CPR and then was trying to look for a pulse or a breath or just anything. And was just screaming his name over and over and over again. And come on, George, come on, George. And I continued CPR, and I continued CPR, and he was gurgling. And
What color was it?
what color was he?
Yes.
He was purple.
At some point, did you call your
Means he'd
ex-husband?
been dead for a while.
Yes, when he started to gurgle, and I knew that my
No tears.
ex-husband is notorious for bringing my son over in very inopportune times when George is possibly drunk or doing things not appropriate for my son to see. And I just didn't know what to do. It was just a quick knee-jerk reaction. Brian was kind of my go-to person because of my family being deceased, and I don't have anyone else that I can call. And I just wanted to ensure that he would not bring my son over in the process of all of this.
No.
At some point.
No.
So you called him.
I called him.
Did you ask him what to do? Or did you just tell him to come over?
I just told him to come over.
Did you tell him that you felt like George was dead?
Yes, I did.
And how far? You said it's 5 minutes from house to house?
Yes.
Did you call him back?
Yes, because he was taking so long. It felt the seconds
Oh.
were hours. Yes.
Oh, it was taking so long.
I'm still doing CPR at the same time in the process of it. I'm
Yeah.
doing CPR, I don't know how many times.
It's
Did he
funny.
get
She
there?
keeps saying CPR, CPR. She's trying to act like she was, I was saving his life. I kept doing CPR. I just kept doing CPR.
Yes,
Did he walk in?
yes,
Did he walk out?
yes.
What did he tell you to do?
Call 911.
What did you do?
I called 911.
Is that the recording we've heard here in this trial?
Yes.
God, I got to go back and watch this trial.
Did you love George?
To this day.
Why did you love him?
George was very passionate. George was a very real person. George was nice to me on the good days. George complimented me. George and I were two bodies with one soul, he and I would always say. I don't believe that I've ever had a connection with anyone like I have with George.
Sure. Auntie, thank you so much. $5. Brian, I know it's sensibly loved, but you're giving us a place to talk about it. And I thank you for that. Anytime. That's why we're here. I appreciate you. And I appreciate the $5. Scott asks, Brian, are you attending the free Karen Weed Halloween party on Friday? Yes, I will be there. And I will be there with Maz is going. Lauren from DC will be with me. And if you missed the very beginning of the show, on Saturday after the party, Friday night, Saturday from 10 to noon, I would love some of you locals, if you could make it, 10 to noon, Dedham Legacy Place. Lauren from DC and I will be standing out for justice for Trooper Garcia. We would love to welcome the Free Karen Reed supporters, Sandra Birchmore, Justin Root, John O'Keefe. We'd love for you to come out and stand with us for 2 hours in the morning on Saturday if you can make it. I would appreciate that. And then Sunday I'll probably hitting a couple of standouts as well. All right, folks, let's finish this one up and move on to our next story here.
Did you have that connection with your ex-husband?
I did not.
Was it even close?
Telling you my costume. No way. You'll have to wait and see.
George has some good traits, doesn't he?
Very much.
Did George have some bad traits?
He did.
Did you drink too much?
I did.
Did George drink too much?
Yes.
Tell the jury about George's drinking.
If George was able to, he would drink from sun up to sundown. And me having my son and trying to work and maintain the home and just have a life, a normal life as best as I could, somehow that upset George. And because I had a certain dollar amount from my divorce settlement, at one point it was from wine we could afford vodka. So a lot of the times he would.
All right. That was a little Sarah, but I got to go back and watch that testimony and do that case at some point. It's very interesting to see how things shape up. Maybe we'll do some more updates on it here soon during the variety show. All right, let's get back to some local Massachusetts news here. We had some good news, and one of my good friends tipped me off about this actually last night, texted me. My friend tipped me off. My friend Todd McGee tipped me off to this. I just had a brain fart. My friend Todd McGee texted me and tipped me off last night and said, "Hey, Brian, did you hear?" I said, "What are you talking about? In the Sandra Birchmore case, there's been some updating." I said, "Really?" He said, "Josh Heel is going to be recommended to be stripped of his police certification, peace officer standings, and his post-commission, post-certification." I said, "That's great news. Do you have an article you can share with me?" Threw this one up at me. I thought it was great. We'll read through this really quick. I love it. And he said to me, and I'm looking at the text right now. He said to me, "We'll see more of this in the near future." Little nugget from Todd. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate that. I said, "We'll see more of this in the near future." I love it. All right, let me read through this really quick. 25 investigates. Abington recommends decertification for former cop linked to Sandra Birchmore. Ted Daniel reports Abington, Mass. The town of Abington has recommended that former school resource officer Joshua Heel to be stripped of his police certification by peace officer standards and post-training commission. Abington town manager Scott Lambise told investigator reporter Ted Daniel that the Abington police chief submitted a recommendation to decertify Heel after post request a 223 town report that detailed Heel's statement about the relationship with Sandra Birchmore before her alleged murder, February 2021. Post reached out to the town days before 25 investigated, reported that credible allegations made against Heel were never reported to the state law enforcement watchdog agency. Excuse me. Those allegations stem from an internal affairs probe. Stoughton police. I have something in below. Get out of there. Probe Stoughton police conducted into text messages Mass State Police detectives pulled from Birchmore's mobile phone after she was found dead in Canton apartment on February 21st. State police assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office initially ruled Birchmore's death a suicide. In August, federal authorities charged from former state police officer Matthew Farwell with murdering Birchmore and staged her death to look like she hung herself. Farwell first met Birchmore when she was 13. Keep that in mind, people. 13. Excuse me. Holy smokes. Participated in Stoughton's police officer program, which teaches young people about jobs in law enforcement. Then Stoughton Deputy Police Chief Robert Holmes first conducted then Abington Police Chief David Papa, in December 2021, told him that Heel was a witness in the internal affairs probe. Months later, Holmes told the Papa, quote, found Josh Heel to be not credible because Josh denied having a sexual relationship with Birchmore during the first interview, but had changed his answer in the second interview. Heel met Birchmore when she was an adult in this previous role as Stoughton Animal Control Officer. I'm going to die. Holy smokes. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Excuse me. Heel resigned in lieu of discipline, according to Post in February 2023, but it was remained certified in good standing as state Massachusetts police officer. Law enforcement agencies must submit complaints alleged officers' misconduct, including allegations of bias, excessive force, serious injury or death, and unprofessional conduct, according to Post regulations. Prior to the Post reaching out to Abington, the agency said they had no record of any complaints against Heel. A Post spokesperson said Post cannot comment on cases that are pending. In an email sent to Heel's office, Peter S. Farley of Duxbury was not immediately returned. It says here, Ted Daniel, the town of Abington, is a tweet. It's confirmed. 25 investigates that Mass Post Commission has requested documents in reference to former school resources Josh Heel's relationship with Sandra Birchmore. And it goes on in the tweet. So I'm glad this is all getting out there. It needs to get out there. People need to know about this, and these people need to be held accountable. You did nasty things, disgusting things to an underage girl. You need to be put away for the rest of your life and never see the light of day ever again. You're done. Now let's get the other brother. He needs to go too. All right, let's get to my last story tonight. Oh, speaking of kid fuckers, we got this asshole. Ex-Abercrombie and Fitch CEO Michael Jeffries, 80 years old now, raped male models during sex parties, the indictment says. And we're going to watch this story here from Lauren Crime Sidebar. Now, the funny thing about this, when I heard about this, it didn't surprise me in the sense of this. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. My voice is really jacked up tonight. I'm sorry. It didn't surprise me. And I'm glad that all these fucking pedophiles now are literally being exposed. We have the alleged allegations against Diddy that are coming out. Now, this clown with Abercrombie and Fitch, we've known of a lot of this has gone on through Hollywood as well with the so-called casting couches and all the things that people have to do to get in very well-known movies or get a large role in a movie. We've heard a lot of those stories. Harvey Weinstein, a lot of those stories as well too. But I'm going to tell you a story. Back in, it would be 96 or 97, 96, because I was fresh out of high school. I got my first after high school job. I actually went and worked for the Gap. And I remember a manager, two managers actually, that left Abercrombie and Fitch and came and worked for the Gap. Excuse me. I don't know what it is in here, but it feels dusty or something's going on in this room tonight. I'm going to get a cough drop. Excuse me. But I remember these two managers that left Abercrombie and Fitch and came and worked for the Gap. And they told me stories about Abercrombie and Fitch. That higher management, like district managers, would come into the store and literally stand at the front of the store and look at all the employees that work there and would send them home based on looks, that they didn't like the way that they looked. And they would tell the store manager, you need to send them home now. And if you don't, you will be fired. They would come in and say, I don't like the way they look. or I don't like the look that that person has going on today, or you need to send her home because I don't think that she's attractive enough or pretty enough. It's a lot of this shit that went on in that organization. And essentially, that's why both of those managers left and they end up coming to work for the Gap. Crazy. And, and if as I probably joggle my brain, there's probably more stories that go on. But I remember that one that really stuck with me. I was like, I had never heard of anything like that before. And they had the goods on them. They dug and dug. And there were allegations of this guy before, this Michael Jeffries. I heard of stuff like this before. I think maybe 5 or 10 years ago, some people came out, but it never really stuck. And maybe it just took this long to get into this investigation because they finally got enough people to come out. But let's see this from Law and Crime Network. This is Sidebar. It's about a 20-minute segment. Let's learn about this. And I think it's great that all these fucking kid fuckers are now getting taken essentially to the woodshed, because we don't need people like this in our society. We don't need people like this. If you want to touch kids, you need to just go away for the rest of your life and not see the light of day. All right, let's play this.
To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning. Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison.
Huge news to report about the former CEO of what was once a powerhouse clothing brand, Mike Jeffries, the ex-head of Abercrombie & Fitch, is now accused
It's a monster.
and charged
Look at that
with
fucking guy.
sex trafficking.
That guy is a fucking monster. Look at that. How much botched facial surgeries has this fucking demon had? All right, let's play.
This alongside his British partner and a middleman.
This is a fucking another
who apparently
weirdo.
Sports a snakeskin patch on his nose. I know it's a lot, but we're going to dive in and we're going to bring you everything we know so far in this brand new criminal case. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A deviant and a predator. That's what alleged victims call Mike Jeffries. This is the man who was once at the top of the fashion industry when he was heading up Abercrombie & Fitch. Well, now Jeffries, his romantic partner Matt Smith, and a third man,
This is bizarre.
Jim Jacobson, they have all reportedly been arrested as part of an FBI probe into alleged sex trafficking. As if we didn't talk enough about sex trafficking when it came to Sean Combs. But now we have another high-profile person caught up in similar allegations. So this comes as a grand jury for the Eastern District of New York indicted the men on charges of sex trafficking and interstate prostitution, specifically citing 15 John Does who say that they were victimized as part of this. I want to bring in former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani to talk more about this. Nima, so good to have you. Thanks for jumping on. What is your...
Real quick, before we get into this, I just had something that got just passed to me. I want to read this really quick. Another Karen Reed bit. This just got dropped from 25 News. Thank you, my sources that sent me to this. This just dropped about 40 minutes ago. Let's read through this. Look at this. Boston 25 News reports. Let's hear the little snippet up here. O'Keefe family fighting to stop wrongful death, delay in wrongful death suit. Let's play this.
Wrongful death lawsuit. To the latest in the Karen Reed case now, family of the man she's accused of killing, they're fighting any delay in his wrongful death lawsuit. Now, relatives of former Boston police officer John O'Keefe filed the suit against Reed, as well as the two bars where Reed and O'Keefe had been drinking the night of his death. Both Reed and one of those bars, the Waterfall, filed motions to delay the wrongful death case until after her January criminal trial is over. But according to these court records obtained by Boston 25, O'Keefe's family is opposing the move, saying they want to, quote, lock in her testimony, claiming Reed is seeking to poison the jury pool by communicating with the media. Meantime, a man appeared in court on witness intimidation charges connected to the Karen Reed case. Prosecutors say Richard Schiffer Jr. put rubber ducks and fake $100 bills outside homes and businesses to show his support for Reed. That includes the home of John O'Keefe.
Not rubber ducks.
And the Norfolk District Attorney's Office. Prosecutors say the ducks appear to be a reference to something Reed's attorney.
This is the most preposterous fucking thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. We're going to drag people into court and drag them through court because they did this. because they brought this out and put him around town. That's it. They took one of these. This is such a weapon. This is the weapon, folks. A plastic fucking duck. A plastic duck. I mean, this is where we're at in this age. In fucking 2024, this is where we're at. Plastic ducks. We're going to drag people into fucking court for plastic ducks. I can't believe it. All right, let's finish
He
this.
said during a hearing in January.
Holy
Another
shit.
hearing on the matter is
We are
scheduled for
losing
November.
our fucking minds in
22nd.
this country.
Window
All right.
Nation is on the Morgan's home turf to huddle.
Let me read through this a little bit here. O'Keefe family fighting to stop delay in wrongful death lawsuit against Karen Reed, 2 Canton bars. The family of deceased Boston police officer John O'Keefe is fighting to prevent the delay in a wrongful death lawsuit against Karen Reed in 2 Canton bars. She was seen drinking at the O'Keefes before they were killed on January 29, 2022. Obviously, we know why we're here. Both Reed and the Waterfall filed motions to delay the wrongful death case. But according to new documents obtained Wednesday by Fox 25, O'Keefe's family is opposing the move. Quote, the O'Keefe family is compelling reasons to lock in testimony from Karen Reed, who seek not only to poison the jury pool with her regular communications with the media, reporters or bloggers, but also has 1 foot out of Massachusetts now that her house is sold. New documents filed in Plymouth Superior Court. I will get through this live today, I promise. My voice is just not cooperating. Reed's first trial ended on a mistrial. We know that. Quote, the O'Keefe family has a right to timely resolution. The new filings added additional delays in the criminal trial resolution, including another mistrial and a lengthy appeal or other legal complications are real possibilities here. How about this? How about putting some fucking effort into, I don't know, maybe suing the residents at 34 Fairview, maybe suing the Canton Police Department, maybe suing the Massachusetts State Police for a botched investigation and a cover-up. We can depose all those people and get really good information because everything comes out in a civil trial. Ooh, I would love that. That's why Turtle Boy always says, when people go, are you going to stop talking about Jen McCabe the way you do? And he goes, no, please, sue me. Because he knows if it goes to deposition, you get everything. When you are deposed in a civil case, a lot of things come out. A lot more evidence comes out. Reed's attorneys say they have asked the state's highest court to dismiss the 2 of the 3 charges, while prosecutors foreman stated a formal argument for a retrial. If you're interested in reading the document, which I will after this live, I'm going to drop the link in here. So you're able to click on that. You can read through the article. It was really long. If not, just go to Boston 25 News. You'll be able to pick up. And thank you, sources that gave me that article. Breaking news always. Every time we always think something's going to go on in the Karen Reed case. Here we go. All right, let's get back to this kid fucker.
Reaction to this. I mean, this is as I said, we weren't talking enough about Sean Combs. Now we have another major player in a different
Guy needs to go down too. Probably party with Diddy.
Jesse, I wish I could say I was surprised, but I'm not. These allegations have been circulating for quite some time. There's been a civil lawsuit that's filed. Now, I didn't expect the feds to come in and make these types of arrests. Oftentimes, they do not get involved when there's a civil lawsuit, but clearly there's enough smoke here and enough evidence for them to come in. And the Eastern District of New York, they don't mess around. It's like the Southern District. Obviously, they handled the R. Kelly case. They've handled the NXIVM case. That sex trafficking case, I believe, also came out of the Eastern District. So they're pretty well versed in handling these types of claims. And what's really interesting to me is, obviously, we're talking about a lot of victims, but really the dates of the offenses. Some of these allegations are older, going back to 2008. As recent as 2015. So I'm thinking maybe the feds were up against the clock a little bit when it comes to the statute of limitations for some of these allegations. That's why they acted when they did.
Interesting. And we'll talk a little bit more about what might have motivated this, but to bring everybody up to speed, this investigation into these 3 men, it centers around whether they exploited and abused young men at parties that were hosted all around the world and across the United States. Mike Jeffries, who's now 80 years old, he lives in West Palm Beach, Florida. His partner, 60-year-old Matthew Smith, originally from the UK, lives there too. And James Jacobson, sometimes
fucking
referred to as
weirdo.
Jim, apparently lives in Wisconsin. They're expected to make their initial appearances in their respective states. Then they're going to be arraigned in New York federal court at a later date.
Good.
By the way, I should give everybody a disclaimer. When you see these photos of Jacobson that were featured in a BBC documentary about Abercrombie and Fitch and its alleged cover-up of impropriety, and we'll talk about that, these photos have gone viral. And you'll see that Jacobson wears what appears to be a nose patch. It's a piece of what we believe to be snake skin over his nose. This is apparently to hide the result of a plastic surgery mishap. Just another interesting detail in all this. By the way, we're going to keep an eye out on this story as it develops. We always want to do that with our big stories. We want to keep providing you updates as these things move on through the legal process. And one of the reasons that we can continue to do that for you, one of the reasons we
Comes an
put on these
advertisement.
sidebars, is because disturbing details. So we're going to play you a portion of that announcement right now.
So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons in New York City, or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex. But beyond simply hiring men for sex, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own sexual gratification. For example, as alleged, the defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of the sexual activity that would be required of the men at these events. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers.
I'm going to tell you, too, when they probably go through all of their computers and phones and all that, you're not going to just find, adult stuff on there. You're going to probably find a lot of what on there as well, too. Because these are usually the type of sick fucking people that get into that stuff.
Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff.
Wait till they start seizing computers and phones.
Sex events.
Forget it.
The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain
control
the secrecy of these events.
Yep.
Then
he did that.
Caused the men to believe that not complying with requests for certain acts, sex acts during the events, could harm their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events. And they required the presence of staff during the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave the sex events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over. Also, as alleged, on more than one occasion, Jeffries and Smith either directed others to inject
or
personally injected men with an erection-inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex acts the men were incapable of engaging in or unwilling to engage in. Additionally, the indictment alleges on more than one occasion when men did not or could not consent, Jeffries and Smith violated the bodily integrity of these men by subjecting them or continuing to subject them to invasive sexual and violent contact by body parts and other objects. As alleged in the indictment, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson didn't just carry this activity on for a couple of occasions. Their sex trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015. During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe. They spent millions.
That's why they're going to nail
dollars
him in New
on a
York.
mass-
You notice that too. It was like the Diddy stuff. Where was he charged formally out of New York? So he probably had some of those parties there. And that's why you're seeing the indictment come out of New York. New York's friggin' nailing all these people, all this sex trafficking stuff, and good. That's great. Make these fucking people go down, man.
Massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy. This included hundreds, thousands of dollars of cash for commercial sex, prolific amounts of money for staff to run the sex events, money for domestic travel, international travel, hotel rooms, services from a security company, and Jacobson's salary, among other things. Now, this investigation remains ongoing. Although there are 15 John Does identified as victims in this indictment, this interstate prostitution venture encompassed dozens and dozens of men. And I encourage anyone with information about this case, including anyone who was a victim of the defendant's alleged crimes, to contact the FBI.
My gosh, Nima, those are incredibly disturbing allegations. And for me, what stands out is this level of organization of this. If you take these allegations as true, this was a systematic, well-organized scheme to do this. But what stands out to you as you heard, again, kind of unthinkable allegations from the prosecutor?
I agree with you, Jesse. And, that's why I started talking about the dates, because it seems like the type of case that would normally be charged as a RICO, either substantive or RICO conspiracy charge. Obviously, that can bring in a lot of individuals. It can bring in a lot of crimes. They didn't charge that in this case, but clearly you have a criminal enterprise here. And obviously that there are many individuals whose purpose was to recruit.
Did you ever hear of any Kiss, did you ever hear of any allegations about DMs coming in and sending people home based on their looks? Have you ever heard of that? Because I was talking about that earlier in the show. I don't know if you picked it up, but I'd be curious to see if you came across any of that or any other stuff that was going on.
Groom these men and engaged in prostitution. And I think one of the big takeaways is what the U.S. attorney said, and that's that force, fraud, or coercion, because there's really three possibilities here. Obviously, having consensual sex with your boss, get ahead. It's not criminally unlawful. It may violate civil sexual harassment laws, but this has moved well past consensual sex into prostitution, right? Prostitution obviously is that commercial element, that payment. And what makes something sex trafficking is the force, fraud, or coercion. That's why during the press conference, there was the focus on that, because that takes away the consent entirely. And once you prove that, you start talking about potential.
Read this really quick. She says, no, I never had that happen at our store, but I was kind of stupid at 16 and I thought it was awesome working there. There are definitely more of an emphasis put on the guys that got hired there. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Very, very interesting.
Mandatory minimum sentences in federal prison.
You're 100% right. 100% right. That's the key there. And just to take a closer look at the actual wording of the indictment that was filed in the Eastern District, it reads, from approximately 2008 to 2015, the defendants Michael S. Jeffries, Matthew C. Smith, and James T. Jacobson, together with others, operated an international sex trafficking and prostitution business. During this period, Jeffries and Smith relied on their vast financial resources, Jeffries' power as the CEO of Abercrombie, and numerous people, including Jacobson and a network of employees, contractors, and security professionals, to run a business that was dedicated to fulfilling their sexual desires and ensuring that their international sex trafficking and prostitution business was kept secret,
all the
thereby
money, all the power.
Jeffries'
think they're untouchable.
reputation. So, Nima, you have this long time period. I think that's interesting. I also think it's interesting when you see there are multiple players here who are probably cooperating with the government, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think there are plenty of people that participated in getting these men and making sure they didn't leave. You heard the allegations in the indictment. I don't
There you
think it
go.
was just the
It's funny
three
that Kiss is
of
just
the
saying that
main
now. Look.
defendants that were involved here, right? We've seen it time and time again. When you're dealing with sex trafficking, there's individuals who are recruiters, the
Yep.
Elaine Maxwells of the world, right? They're actually making contact. I don't think Jeffries himself is picking up the phone and booking the plane ticket and the hotel room and flying these men out. And, I think there are many individuals involved, and it really goes to that force, fraud, and coercion, right? What's the fraud? Well, the men were told X and then something else happened, right? The force, if they weren't permitted to leave because there's Abercrombie security there that's not letting them leave, or if they're not in the state where they can consent, and it appears to be some rape allegations as well. And the coercion, of course, is the telling these men that their career will be over or they won't be furthered if they don't participate in these sex acts.
Yeah, and this idea that it's operated almost like a business. These charges, they're not unique. We've seen them before, but they are unique to a specific group of people. To carry something out like this, you're not going to just charge John Smith. You have to have what seemingly the power, the resources, the influence, the infrastructure to carry something out like this. So that's why you see charges like this against a Sean Combs,
Excuse me,
or a Mike Jeffries, or a
Jeffrey Epstein.
Wealth and power are big common themes that we see here. Now, again, these are just allegations. They're innocent until proven guilty, but allegations nonetheless that are really disturbing to hear. Now, prosecutors, they allege that many people were employed as part of this Jeffries family office. It's not also known as JFO in the indictment, specifically to organize and facilitate these sex events. It says at the direction of the defendants, Michael C. Jeffries and Matthew C. Smith, the staff were present at, observed, and acted as security for, including by controlling entry and exit of sex events. The staff also provided Jeffries, Smith, and the men who attended with alcohol, muscle relaxants known as poppers, lubricant, Viagra, condoms, among other items,
Oh my
as
God.
directed by Jeffries and
Sounds like
Smith.
Diddy.
The staff also directed men to, among other things, wear costumes, use sex toys to prepare for particular sexual acts. Either the defendant, James T. Jacobson, or the staff paid the men for attending the sex events. And you talked about count one of the indictment, it's sex trafficking. And the document alleges that the three co-defendants did knowingly and intentionally recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, obtain, and maintain by any means one or more persons in and affecting interstate commerce, and did benefit financially and by receiving anything of value from participation in a venture which engaged in such acts, knowing and reckless disregard of the fact that means of force,
Yeah,
threats
right,
of
Miss
force,
Ash.
fraud, and coercion. So, Nima, what are ways to defend against this? Do you say, I had no knowledge about how these individuals were being brought here? This was all consensual. There was no force, fraud, or coercion. It seems like a complicated charge when we talked about sex trafficking, but how would someone like Mike Jeffries defend against it?
Well, there are a few possibilities, Jesse. The first is to argue that the sexual contact didn't happen. Probably going to be tough in this case if there's a lot of witnesses and people that were helping recruit and secure these men for Jeffries and others. So then you argue to get around the prostitution that the sexual contact happened. There's no commercial element, right? There's no payment, right? That would make it not prostitution. And of course, you would argue that it is consensual because, of course, consenting sex between adults is not unlawful. No matter how
That guy's
weird
creepy looking,
or
man.
freaky it may be, you can have sex
That
toys, you
guy's
can have
creepy.
drugs, you can have lubricants, you can have all of that. As long as there isn't that commercial element, there's no force, fraud, or coercion. It's not a crime. So I think that's where the defense is going to have to go in this case.
I think this one might be more difficult to challenge. Counts 2 through 16 allege interstate prostitution that
That's
the
not good.
co-defendants did knowingly and intentionally persuade, induce, entice, and coerce individuals to travel in interstate and foreign commerce to engage in prostitution. And the indictment also lays out approximate dates that 15 John Does allegedly had interactions with these men. Now, by all accounts, these are not known commercial sex workers, but it seems to me if you can prove they traveled at the behest of these individuals or at the direction of these individuals, or maybe they were on private planes and they were together and they're being paid and you have receipts of the payment, that feels like a difficult charge there to defend against, unless you say, look, things were paid in cash. There's no way to prove there was payment. But again, I made the same argument with the Sean Combs case. That charge feels tough to defend against. Am I wrong?
No, that's right. Prostitution is much easier for prosecutors to prove, more difficult, because you have that federal jurisdictional hook, that interstate travel, and you have a payment and you have sex, and that's it. Now, I don't think the feds would have filed this case if it was just a straight prostitution case, not certainly as serious of a charge, doesn't carry the significant sentences that sex trafficking does, because sex trafficking
this is crazy.
essentially rape, right? So, but that being said, still serious, still federal crimes because of the interstate component, and certainly something that can be more readily proven because, again, you have the sex, you have the travel, you have the money, and that's it. You have federal prostitution.
Now, in response to this arrest, Jeffries' attorney, Brian Bieber, told NBC News,
Brian
quote, "We will
Bieber.
respond in
Interesting.
detail to the allegations after the indictment is unsealed and when appropriate, but plan to do so in the courthouse, not the media." And by the way, during this news conference, U.S. Attorney Peace, I should say, said that right now, the indictment doesn't allege that Abercrombie, the company, had any role in the alleged sex trafficking and prostitution, only that Jeffries and these others, they used Abercrombie modeling campaigns as a way to bait and lure male models. That's an important distinction, right, Nima?
Well, it's very important, especially for the civil case. It's rare for an entity to be prosecuted criminally. It certainly does happen, but we know that many of these victims have filed civil lawsuits, and those civil lawsuits want to bring in Abercrombie. And of course, the allegation would be that Jeffries and others there within the course and scope of their employment when they're doing this, that puts the company on the hook for potentially big civil settlement or judgment. So that's very important for the civil case, not so much for the criminal case. But you know, we've seen it time and time again, whether it's a Catholic Church or any other entity, civil plaintiffs want to bring in.
Did you meet him? Miss Jessica, did you meet him? I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Woo. Miss Jessica says he's a creeper in person. I modeled first in an A&F. Is that Oklahoma store? And then managed one of the original stores outside Cincinnati. Oh, wow. She interacted with him. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Sophie. Look at this. All the ladies that have come forward today. All right, let's keep playing through. We'll finish this up. Make sure to smash that like-it button, please.
The
variety show
to make sure that someone can pay a big settlement or judgment.
That's where the money is. Although, to be clear, Mike Jeffries certainly has money of his own. But you asked before, we talked about before, what led to this, right? 2008 to 2015. Why are these charges coming out now? Well, these bombshell arrests, they come after an explosive BBC documentary that was released, and it detailed the alleged abuse perpetrated by Mike Jeffries. It's called The Abercrombie Guys, The Dark Side of Cool.
So let me ask you a question, because I threw this out there. Back in 96, 97, I can't pin the date down. I actually worked for the Gap at that time, and two managers from Abercrombie and Fitch left there to come to us. And they told us stories about when the DMs used to come into the stores, they would go to the front and look at all the employees that were working that day, and they literally would just send people home based on the way that they looked, that they didn't like the way they looked, and they would send them home. And they also, there were things about if you didn't do it, then store managers would be fired. Did you ever hear of anything like that? All right, let's keep playing through.
Accusations against Jeffries and Smith, and this was uncovered in a 2-year investigation by the BBC. And the allegations, they're very similar to the indictment. They claim that this middleman, James Jacobson, helped recruit young men for orgies under the guise of being offered career opportunities to model, and that these sex parties allegedly occurred in numerous locations, including at Jeffries Hampton's Retreat, Morocco, France, New York City. Both Jeffries and Smith, they refused to comment on these claims in the documentary, and Jim Jacobson, this alleged fixer.
Yeah, I think you remember that too.
He claimed
remember hearing that
the men who attended these events, quote, they went in with their eyes open, meaning to say seemingly like they were consensual to what was going on. The BBC investigation, though, it brought forth 8 stories of young men who spoke of this alleged grooming operation.
Wow.
2 of these men, David Bradbury and Barrett Paul, they went on the record claiming that they were
Wow.
schmoozed, they were stripped, they were shaved naked, and they were coerced into all forms of sex acts in exchange for appearing in the Abercrombie catalog.
Wow.
In fact, David Bradbury filed his own lawsuit against Jeffries and Abercrombie, by the way. And one man who was in disguise and going by the name Alex claimed that he was drugged and raped at a party in Morocco. He became ill afterwards and then was diagnosed with HIV 6 years later, which he alleged he contracted at this party in Morocco. So, Nima, how much of a role does a documentary like this play in criminal charges? I think we had the same conversation in the R. Kelly case, right? Surviving R. Kelly. Do you think, I mean, the timing of it's interesting. You have this investigation by a media outlet. I mean, we said the same thing with Harvey Weinstein, the New York Times, the piece. Do you think it was that documentary that has now led to these charges against these 3 individuals?
Jesse, we've talked about it before, and
Isn't it
absolutely
crazy?
the answer is yes. Time and time again, a documentary can change the trajectory of a legal case or initiate
Excuse me.
a prosecution. Obviously, R. Kelly is a great example of surviving R. Kelly. We talked about Weinstein, but there are many other examples. We talked about Bob Durst and the Jinx finally being brought to justice in that case, or even Britney Spears. She finally got out of her conservatorship because of multiple documentaries, or now the Menendez brothers may be released because of a documentary. So every prosecutor in this country is either elected or appointed by someone who is. And media pressure, public pressure can absolutely cause or initiate a criminal prosecution or change the trajectory of a case completely.
Maybe not even pressure, just opens their eyes to what was going on. They might not have been, these allegations might not have even been on prosecutors' radar until something like this, an investigation comes forward. Real quick, before I let you go, Nima, generally speaking, these kinds of charges, what are these men looking at in terms of potential prison time if they're convicted?
Well, they're looking at very significant time, especially the sex trafficking is proved. We talked about R. Kelly. I mean, decades in prison. Obviously, that was a different case involving minors, but there are no spring chickens. So this would essentially be a life sentence for someone like Jeffrey and those of his advanced age.
Unbelievable. Now, look, before I let everybody go, little history lesson, because there's actually a lot more history behind the Abercrombie & Fitch brand than you might think. So the original Abercrombie & Fitch, they were actually established in the late 1800s. They were selling clothing and supplies to elite outdoorsmen, including President Theodore Roosevelt, Ernest Hemingway. But by the 1970s, the company was struggling. It filed for bankruptcy. It closed its New York flagship store. But after changing hands a few times, the company ended up in the hands of The Limited, which owned several other major brands like Bath & Body Works and Victoria's Secret. And The Limited was led by Les Wexner, the wildly successful Ohio businessman who, as we had reported here on Sidebar, he had retained Jeffrey Epstein to handle his personal finances. It was an interesting connection, now given what Mike Jeffries and his cohorts are accused of, I should say. Jeffries, though, he took over as CEO in the 1990s of Abercrombie & Fitch. He focused the company towards teens and young adults. Jeffries also launched Abercrombie Kids and Hollister, which is a seemingly more laid-back version of the preppy Abercrombie & Fitch style that he was selling. And by 2006, the brand was grossing $2 billion a year.
Wow.
Jeffries, he quit the company suddenly in 2014 after 22 years as its CEO, reportedly because of its low sales numbers. But now that we're looking back and thinking about this, is there more to the story, Nima?
More to the story.
I'm sure there's more to the story, right? And like you said, prosecutors got a package from the BBC or the civil plaintiffs. They're overworked. So, when there are these allegations, of course, corporations are going to conduct an investigation. So I believe, like you're suggesting, that these aren't new allegations, right? We've been hearing about them for quite some time. The criminal charges are new, but I think this is not really the beginning of the story, but we're many, many chapters in now.
All right, I'm going to end that there. I got an article update really quick before I end this live. I hope you all have been enjoying the variety show that I've been kind of doing, because I do want to start, branching out a little bit on the channel as we wait for Karen's trial. The upcoming possible trial here in January. We're hearing a lot about it. We have to see what happens here in the SJC rulings coming up in November. But I'm trying to mix it up a little bit and introduce some other content. And I get it. This might not be for everybody. You know, we might lose some people that don't want to watch the live show, but it can't be Karen Reed all the time. Just can't be. I need to keep pushing the channel forward and expanding it. I love being in this the Karen Reed movement. You know that. I'm never going to stop not talking about the case, but I want to start dedicating some time to headlines that are going on in and around the world. And I think it's important to go through these, and we'll mix some Karen Reed stuff in. And listen, if something very important comes up in Karen's case or any other cases that we're following here in Massachusetts, that I'll dedicate a show to that. But I've been trying to, just change up the format a little bit and see how the audience likes it. My last variety show did very well on replay. So people want to hear and see this stuff. So it was a little update here on Michael Jeffries. This is back on today, believe it or not. Michael Jeffries begins house arrest in oceanfront Palm Beach condo. Jeffrey can only travel between South Florida and Eastern New York for legal purposes. Former Abercrombie & Fitch Michael Jeffries is on house arrest in his $2.5 million oceanfront Palm Beach condominium, likely meeting with his lawyers as they figure out a defense for his international sex trafficking case. After posting a $10 million bond, lawyers whisked the 80-year-old former clothing brand kingpin to be fitted with an ankle monitor, and that he's back in his Palm Beach condo where he begins house arrest, unable to leave except for medical, religious, and legal appointments. So that's a little bit of an update there. We heard about the charges, but if you're wondering what's going on, that is the latest update. So he is on house arrest. All right, people. Well, what was I going to say? I didn't think it was going to go 2 hours. I've been trying to keep these shows down to an hour, but we had a lot to go through today and a lot to talk about. I want to remind everybody, if you are going to on Friday night to the Halloween party, the Karen Reed Turtle Boy annual Halloween party, I will be there. I'll be in attendance, hopefully to see and meet a lot of you. On Saturday, I am hosting an event in Massachusetts outside the Legacy Place Mall from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. to stand out for justice for Trooper Garcia. We'd also love some Free Karen Reed supporters, Sandra Birchmore, Justin Root, John O'Keefe, whatever it may be. Come join us. We'd love to have you there. And Lauren from DC will be with me out there to stand for justice. And then Sunday, I'm going to make it to some appropriate in and around the area. Appropriate. I don't know why I said appropriate. I'm going to make it out to some standouts on Sunday, possibly Legacy Place, and then I'll finish my day down in Plymouth. So thank you all for being here this night. This is another LTL Media Let's Talk live show here. We went through the headlines tonight. Thought it was a great show, very informative, and it's nice to see everybody here. I will be transitioning studio soon, so we're coming up on possibly last couple lives here in the live studio, in this studio here, and then we'll get down into Studio B, I guess, or the next level. And I'm very excited about that, but it's going to take me some time to get in there, get things organized and set up. So I might be out of there for a week or two, and then hopefully back in there and do the grand reveal. Then I'm possibly going to do a little bit of maybe an open house where I can invite some subscribers. Maybe we'll do a lottery or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out, but maybe do a little open house so you can all walk through and come in and hang out, get to meet me and see the studio. It'd be a lot of fun to do that. So I love all of you. Thank you, my Go Squad members, all of my moderators. You're all fantastic. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. I'll be back here live on Sunday night. And it's nice to see everybody. Hope you're loving and enjoying the LTL platform. I appreciate it. And we're going to be kicking some ass soon in the new studio. I'm looking forward to it. You're all amazing. Love the support. And thank you. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to hit the outro. We'll see everybody soon. I love you. Bye.